Hi, I'm Paul Moyer, the designer of the QuoteFast program, and in this short video I'm going to show you how the new GRT software, that's Get Rid of Tyrekickers, can do a major renovation and addition just as easily as it can a new build. Okay, so we simply select the client, and we're doing Mr. Carpenter of Church Point, and as you can see we open the file to work on. And here the job code, or your builder's margin, is 0, so we simply click on that button. The keypad pops up, and I'm going to put 20% on this particular one, and so now we've got 20%. Okay, you've got the two programs, that's the full-blown GTX or the new GRT, which is the one we're going to do for you now. So I click on Start GRT, and that takes me to the dashboard for this program. Now we simply do 1, 2, 3. Step 1 is for templates of on-site items. Step 2 is to cost the main bulk of the job. And step 3 is to do all the room inclusions, that's bathrooms, kitchens, laundries, wardrobes, etc. Okay, so let's go straight into step 1. We're doing a full quote, and it's going to be a 2-story addition on a difficult site. And this is what's going to be costed as soon as I click on that green button. So we've got this template of things you would normally expect to find in this type of job. So we've got trench and conduit, new mains, meter box, etc., crane allowance, rubbish removal, a day to set the job out. So all these items here are going to be costed as soon as I click on that green button there. Okay, we can change these things, of course. For example, on this particular job I need 10 meters of trench and conduit, so I click on the 15, the keypad pops up, and I put in 10 meters and click OK, and that changes it. Now I don't need an electric hot water system, so I click on that, and I want to change that to a solar, and the program asks me how many, so I want one of them. And so I've just changed it to 1 solar. Okay, now I don't need any sensor lights, so I can delete those items there. And as I go through, I simply look down to check. Now I don't need to take any vegetation out, so that can go. Labour freight hours I need. Difficult site allowance, because I can't get a crane in, so I've got to allow long carry for the carpenters, etc. We've got a materials ramp to take all the materials up from the outside. I don't need the excavator, so I can delete that. So as you can see, you can change to suit yourself. Okay, I'm happy with that now, so I add that to the quote, and we go to step 2. Alright, so now I go into step 2, which is the main bulk of the job. And this is the part which is totally different to the full-blown GTX program. Okay, we'll start with the set the specs, because I want to just change the cornice on this job from our standard. Okay, so here's our standard specs for the external wall, that's bricks and blocks and cladding, etc. Internal walls, roof types, eaves and gutters, all your bathrooms and laundries, even down to the PC costs. But the one I want to change is the cornice. I want to change it from 55 to square set. And the same with the internal walls. I want to change it from the standard 55 down to square set. Now the rest of the items here I'm quite happy with. We're going to use Colorbond metal fascia, and we're going to use round downpipes, etc. They were the only two things that I needed to change. So I set those for this quote only. And then I continue on. Okay, so we now go into the ground floor, and it's a ground floor addition. And I'm now just going to make the selections of what I need for the job. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take this old cladded place with cement tiles, the old hip roof, and we're going to change it into this contemporary modern house. We're going to strip the cladding, and then we're going to put a concrete foundation down around the house, brick veneer it, cement render it. I'm going to take off all the old tiles and put on metal. I'm going to reshape this hip roof into a gable, and then we're going to build the first floor extension. I'm going to take this front window out and put 2 windows in, and then inside I'm going to strip the bathroom completely back to the studs and rebuild it, and then I'm going to knock out these walls here. So we've got a fair bit of renovation work, as well as the first floor extension and the ground floor extension. Okay, so we're on the ground floor. Now this particular one here is a timber floor, so I go timber floor and I simply click on it, and the program puts in all the sheet flooring with all the joists and nails and glue, etc. It also puts in the piers underneath, and it will also do the concrete pad footings. Now, as well as that, I'm going to put a concrete slab in here. So I click on concrete floors. It's the al fresco, and it's going to be a raft slab. So I've got the slab, the footing, and the pump. So it's going to do the whole thing. Okay, so now we go to the external walls. Now on the timber floor, that's this one up here, they are 2700 high and they're brick veneer. On the internal walls, on the timber floor, they're also 2700 high. If you had split level, of course, you can change the heights. Now I've got plasterboard on both sides, and I've got plasterboard on one side and wetboard on the other. Okay, we don't have any wetboard to wetboard or brick or block. So then I go to the roof and I choose what roof I want. So on the ground floor edition, it's a 23-degree metal roof, and as you can see up here, it's put the metal roof in with all the trusses, etc. Then it's going to do all the eaves and gutters, the downpipes, the safety rails, and the valleys all in one trace when I get to the cost sheet to do that. We don't have any patios downstairs, so I can simply lock in the ground floor selection. So that's all there is to choosing what you want for the ground floor. Now we've got a second floor as well, so I select the next floor level, and it's going to be the first floor. So I click on first floor edition, and here's my plan for the first floor, and we just repeat steps 1 to 4 again. So there's no concrete floor upstairs, so it's timber floor, sheet floor, and as you can see, with the artificial intelligence that we've built into the GRT program, because it's first floor, it knows that it has to use deep joist. There's no brick piers and concrete footings as there was on the ground floor, and that's all automatic for you. So now we go to the external walls, timber floor. The upstairs is 2400 high, and they're going to be polyfoam panels with the acrylic render, and so here's your polyfoam here. Okay, so we now want the internal walls, timber floor, 2400, and I've got plasterboard to plasterboard and plasterboard to wetboard. And then with the roof type upstairs, it's the first floor edition. It's going to be a 30-degree roof pitch, and it's metal as well. And we do have a patio, and that patio is off the billiards room. It's a compressed and tile deck, and then we've got the handrail. So as you can see, here's your compressed deck with the deep tile joists and tiles, and then you've got your handrail there. So we lock in the first floor selections, and that's all there is to choosing the details of what you want for the job. So now we can cost the selections for all floor levels. Okay, so if I go to my ground floor, here's our ground floor plan. So click on a picture to see the costed items or to trace a new item. So we'll do the concrete first, and up here it tells you the contract price as we go through. So here's our slab, and I can simply trace around the slab, and that's doing everything with the slab, right down to the bar chairs and all the footings, etc. Now if I want to see what's in that slab, I can simply click on View Components, and in the dark orange here's all the items for the slab, and then in the lighter colour here's all the items for the footing, and then again back into the dark here's the pump. So if I needed to change, say, the 72 mesh to maybe 82, I can simply click on it and change it to 82, and now we've changed that. You can do that with any of the components in any section of the job there. Okay, so we've traced that, and now we can go to the timber floor, and it's the sheet flooring with a standard joist, and here's the brick piers, and back in the concrete you had the concrete pad footings. So we simply trace around where we're going to do the ground floor extension, and that's just done the sheet flooring, the bearers, the joists, the nails, the glue, and all the piers underneath, and all the concrete pad footings underneath those piers. Now we've got brick piers at the moment, but we can, if we wanted to, view the components, and we can change them to steel or concrete, whatever we need. Okay, so that's all the timber floor. Now I go to the external wall. So as you can see, I'm simply clicking on pictures, selecting what I want, and then tracing around it. So I trace around the brick veneer wall, and that's also done the subfloor underneath, and it's also done the concrete footing underneath here as well. So just in one trace I'm doing everything from the bare ground right up to the top plate. Okay, so we now go, and if I go to the view components, you'll see the corners type is in green. Now that's because, and it's square set, because that's the one that I changed back in set the spec. So anytime you make a change, it will turn out green here, and you'll have set the specs without you having to click on it and change it each time you want to change a particular component. Okay, so we go to the internal walls, plasterboard to plasterboard, which would be here and across here, and then I choose my plasterboard to wetboard. If I put a tick in the show all traces up the top here, it'll show you what you've already traced, just makes it a bit easier to see which ones you've still got to do. And as you can see, this one is the pink, and then if I click on this one, this is the red one here. So by these colour swatches you can tell which one's which. Okay, so that's the internal. Now with the roof area on the ground floor, I've got a metal roof complete. So that's this section here that I have to change the shape of. Okay, so that's done all that, and it's also done the roof battens, the safety rails, the valley boards and the valley irons, etc. Okay, so now we don't have any patio, so we can leave that one there. Now, while I'm on the ground floor, I do have some renovation work. So if I click on See More Categories, you can see the GRT has exactly the same categories as what you've got in the full-blown GTX program. And the one we want to do is renovations. So I click on Renovations, and I cost another item since there's no items there that I've already selected. It's in the ground floor, and here's all the renovations that you've got in the main GTX program, and we've just got to choose which one we want. Now the first one I'll do is we want to knock out this wall here. So if I just simply type in knockout, in fact I've only got to write the word knock and search, and it'll give me all the knockouts and make good. So I want to knock out and make good timber frame wall, so I select that. Now I can reset the list, because the next one I want to do is to strip this bathroom right back to the studs. So I can simply type in bathroom and hit search, and you can see here stop off all the plumbing and drainage and electrical. But this combo here will do everything. It'll strip the door jambs, strip the linings, the electrical, the plumbing, all the PCs and the tiles. So I select that one, so those two are selected. Then I can reset the list. Now I've also got to strip the cladding off the existing house. So if I put cladding in there and click search, and you've got all these different combos here as well. So just by using the search engine for any different section in the program, doesn't matter what section it's in, the program will find it for you. Now the one I want is to strip the existing cladding, and I want rendered brick veneer. So I click on this one here, and that's already selected. Then reset the list again, and the next one is I want to strip off all the roof tiles. So as long as the word that you're wanting is one of the search words there, the program will find it for you. So we've got some tiles. Okay, so I've got to strip the roof tiles and framing in this particular section because we're changing it from a hip to a gable, so I want that one. And I've also got to strip just the tiles off this section here and change it to metal, so I want that one as well. Okay, now I think that's about all the renovation work that I need to do. So I've selected all the items I need, and as you can see here, you've got them all waiting for you to cost. Okay, so the first one is to knock out and make good the timber frame wall, so we select that and we simply trace that in. The next one is to strip the tiles and the framing, so I select that, and then I can take off this section here. The next one is to strip the roof tiles, so I can take this one here, So see how easy it is? You just click on what you want and do your tracing. With the bathroom, I can click on this one here. Actually, I'll go down to the main one. This is strip and remove the cladding that's around this section here, and I can trace around there. So I just start by tracing around. I'm taking all that off. Okay, so I've traced all around there as well. And then to strip the bathroom right back to the studs, I choose the strip floor and wall tiles, the one in the dark here. And I don't have to actually trace around here, I just tell it the number of bathrooms that I'm going to do. So I simply select the keypad, put 1 in the keypad, click OK, and the program has taken off all the doors and jambs, etc. It's resheeted the room. That's a 2 metre by 3 metre by 2700 high room. It's also stripped all the wall linings off, and it's also stopped off all the electrical, and it's stopped off all the plumbing. So I've now got this back to the bare studs, and then I've relined it in the waterproof gyprock or villa board. I haven't done the plumbing and drainage, the tiles and the waterproofing, because I do that when I go into step 3, and that's your room inclusions. Okay, so you can see in about 16 or 17 minutes we've costed the ground floor addition, and we've done all those renovations. Now I can go into the first floor, so I click on first floor up the top here, and I've got my first floor plan. And we do exactly the same thing. So I go to timber floor. Now here's my sheet floor. Remember, it's got the deep joist, so I select that, and then I can simply trace around the outside walls here. And these, of course, is going to be the sheet flooring, again the deep joist, bearers, nails, glue, etc. Then I go into the external walls. So this is the 2400 polyfoam and plasterboard. And if I view the components on the first floor again, you'll see that the cornice type has changed to square set, which is what I wanted. Okay, so I select that one, and I simply trace around the walls. So I've done all the floor and all the walls. Then I go into the internal walls, and we go to plasterboard to plasterboard, and I simply trace through wherever you're going to have plasterboard on both sides, straight across all the doors and the fronts of the wardrobes, otherwise you'll miss out on all the heads and the cornice, etc. Okay, so that's all the walls that have got plasterboard on both sides. And remember, that's done everything, the skirting, the cornice, the frames, the gyprock, the whole box and dice. Okay, and the other one, of course, is the plasterboard and wetboard. I'll put a tick in the top there so I can see which ones I've done. And now I can just trace over these ones here. And again, as you can see, it's a different colour, so it's easy to distinguish which walls are which. Okay, so that's all my internal walls. Now I'll do the roof area. So I've got my metal roof and truss, and I can simply trace around the outline there. This is doing everything from the gyprock ceiling right up to the tiles, including all the insulation. You've got your valley boards and valley irons. We've got our roof battens and our safety rail, etc. as well. And eaves and gutters, they've automatically been done as I've gone through as well. Now the last one, of course, is the patio. So I click on the patio. Here's our compressed joist deck. That's tiled, and if I look at the components, you see you've got your bearers, joists, the compress, the decking screws, the tiles, the waterproofing, and then your framing nails. And again, I can change any one of those. If I wanted bearers and joists to be changed, I can simply click on the joist, choose whatever it is I want, maybe say a 240 LVL, and I've now got a 240 LVL. So it's very simple to change the template spec to the exact spec that either what you want or what the engineer requires. Okay, so we select it and we simply trace around. So a lot of what I've just showed you there with changing the components is exactly the same features as what you've got in the full GDX program. Now we do the handrail, and if I wanted to change that, so maybe to glass and aluminium, and I can just simply trace around it. Okay, so I've just costed all the upstairs as well, so I've done the ground floor, the upstairs, and all the renovations so far. And looking at the timer on the video, it's just over 20 minutes we've taken to do the basics of that job, except for all the internal sections. Alright, so now we go up to step 3, up the top left hand corner, and we go to our step 3, which is the room inclusions. And this one is exactly the same as what you've seen in the GDX program. So I start with the ground floor, plan, and then full quote. We're doing aluminium windows. Okay, so we've got them in the bedroom, or bed living room, because this is like a little granny flat at the back there. So if I say bedroom 1, and it creates the generic bedroom 1, and that's just done all the light points, power points, the door to get into the room, and the actual window to about 95% accurate. I can, as you can see with that red and yellow note, right click to fine tune, but that's normally when you go from your ballpark estimate to a finished quote. Okay, I've now got an ensuite to do, so I click on ensuite in the green list, and I trace that up there. And as you can see, the program is progressively adding in generic costs up here for all the windows. I've got a walk-in wardrobe, which doesn't have any window in it. Okay, so that goes through to here. And then I've got a kitchen window, and the full kitchen. So that's going to be the actual cupboards and all the fitments and what have you as well. And of course I've got this bathroom over here. That's the one I stripped back to the studs and relined. Now I've got to fit it out as a bathroom. So I simply click on bathroom 1, and that puts bathroom 1 in there as well. Okay, so that's basically all the rooms I've got to do on the ground floor to a generic ballpark figure of about 95% accuracy. Now I can select the first floor, and again full quote, aluminium windows, and we just repeat the process that I did on the ground floor. So I've got bedroom 2, bedroom 3, bedroom 4, and I've got a billiards room, so I can now drag those across. So that's billiard room, bedroom 4, bedroom 3, bedroom 2. The idea, of course, of having these black tags is that if you've got a tag over every room, then it means you know that you haven't forgotten anything. Okay, so I've got bathroom 2, so that makes a generic bathroom. Now remember, that's waterproofing, plumbing, drainage, tiles, all the PC items, shower screens, the whole box and dice, and also a generic window. You see the window cost now is up to about $4,000 odd. Okay, so I've now got a master bedroom to do as well, so I simply click on master bedroom. I've got a walk-in wardrobe, and I've got an ensuite. So the ensuite goes up here, the walk-in robe here, the master bedroom there, and I've also got a patio. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all. Now I've got a hallway. Don't forget hallways, because they've got smoke alarms and power points and light points and what have you in them as well. Okay, we've also got a stairwell. So you can see how it's a very good checklist to make sure that you haven't forgotten anything. Now the stairs themselves, they've already been costed, but this is the light point, etc. in the stairwell. Okay, so now let's go to the costed items to see what we've costed. And the video timer says that that was about 24 minutes to actually do. Now, I didn't take the extra couple of minutes to import the plan, but that's the same as when you import the plan in the GTX, and as you know, it only takes a couple of minutes to do. So if we said 26 or even 28 minutes, we've done that major addition and alteration in under 30 minutes. So for those of you who haven't seen the screen before, if you haven't got the GTX program, this is the summary of what we've costed. And as you can see, everything that's green, for instance, if I go into concrete, here's all your concrete for the ground floor addition footings, the pump for the slab, and then the footings for the slab as well. And as you go through, you can see you've got all the different types of concrete that you've costed. If you go for the timber floor, you've got your first floor with the deep joists, with all the details, and then all the material cost and all the labour and all the total. and then as you scroll down, of course, you've got the ground floor, and then you've got the brick piers and what have you in there as well. So as you click on each of these, the external walls, internal walls, the program will give you every single thing that you've costed. But if I go to show full screen, for those of you who haven't seen either this GTX or the GRT program before, these are the composite rates, these are the quantities, the individual items, the actual buying costs for each item, whether the item is a live prices download, so the program will download live prices, or of course you can manually add them as well. Then you've got the material cost for each item, the labour cost, the total cost, and then you've got who the subby and the supplier is allocated for it. But as you can see, there's a huge number of items there that have actually been costed in this particular job. Okay, so I'll go back to reducing the screen. Now if you want to check the square metre rate, I simply click on this button up the top here, put in anything which is a floor, not a footing but a floor. So I've got the slab. I usually don't put decks in because they don't have roofs, etc., and therefore the cost per square metre is totally different to the cost of the main edition. But this is the first floor, and this is the ground floor. And on this particular job, when this program was being made, the total cost to the client was $439,907, and that gave me a cost per square metre approximately of $2,300, which is about what I would have expected for this type of job. If I want to see my margin, remember before I said it was called a job code, that's 20%, and that's $73,317. And of course I can change that by clicking on this button here and putting the new percentage into the keypad. This particular video is to show you how the GRT program is so fast in costing a major addition renovation. There are other videos on our website which go through each of these other buttons for entering actual quotes and printing all your reports, etc. But this particular video, I just wanted to show you that it can do major additions and alterations in a very quick time, because some of our builders said, well, that's okay for new work, of course, obviously it's much easier, but in general under 30 minutes. At the moment the time is saying about 27 minutes and 30 seconds. So I hope you've enjoyed the GRT, or the Get Rid of Tire Kickers program. Everything that you do in that one, if the client decides to turn around and say I want a full quote, you simply come to this screen, make any changes that you might want, and you've then got a fixed firm price to go to the client. So we hope you've enjoyed it, and God bless.